Hey, this is Meredith's husband. I've got some SEO advice for you, but I'm going to keep it really simple so that you can understand it, so it makes sense, and most importantly, so you can actually use it. Today is part 2 of
Yes, it is.
how to build your local rankings, how to get higher local rankings. Last week was part 1, and we focused on the things that you can control directly. You can change information on your website. You can change information on your own Google business profile. This week, we're going to focus on the stuff outside of your site.
Okay.
Commonly called offsite SEO or links. It comes down to links, basically.
Everything comes down to links.
It often does. And when we're talking about local links, there are 2 categories of links that you want to build to improve your local ranking in search engines.
Okay.
The first category is the local citations we've talked about before, like WhiteSpark, services like WhiteSpark. You go out and you put your business information to a whole bunch of local and industry directories.
Yes.
Called local citations. That's one category. The other category is just kind of more what I would call normal backlinks, just links from other websites.
Okay.
Traditionally.
And how do you get those again?
Well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, fabulous. Good to know.
So both types of links, both categories are important. The local citations and there's the other links that we'll talk about.
Are these things stronger together than they are separate? So if you were to do,
Yes. And I was going to say, if I had to guess which one were more important, I would probably say the regular backlinks, not the local citations. If you were, and there's no reason you would have to choose one or the other, but if you were only going to do one, it would probably be just the regular link building.
Okay.
Now, the local citations are easier to build. They're almost guaranteed. You can go out and you can either pay a service like WhiteSpark or you can build them yourself. They're pretty much guaranteed. They probably, per link, don't have the value that other types of links have, but other types of links can be much harder to get. And they're not guaranteed, which I'll get into in a couple seconds.
I have so many questions.
And next week, I'm going to talk a little bit more about local citations, because when we spoke about this the first time, and we have another episode about this, I will link to that in the show notes if you want to get some background on local citations.
I do.
There are a couple ways to do that. One is to pay us a service like WhiteSpark. That's my favorite. There are others. There are many others. You can also do it manually, which I mentioned in that previous episode is very difficult and time-consuming and can be frustrating. However, in getting feedback from some of our students, our listeners, people are doing that. They're doing the free method. They're trying to do it manually, which is fine. If you don't have a budget, that's fine. Yeah, but I figured there are some things that you can do to make it less time-consuming, or I should say less frustrating and save some time. So next week, I'm going to go over that stuff. So if you want to build those local listings manually and not pay us for a service to do it, I'll give you some tips. That'll be
fantastic. Hooray!
But the bottom line is you need to get those. You need to get those one way or another. You need to get them. They're like putting your business in the phone book. You just you have to do that.
Remember those?
So let's assume you're going one way or the other, you're going to take care of your local citations. Now we're worried about link building, local link building.
Right.
Now, we've talked about link building a lot, right?
Yes.
And one of the most important things about link building is to get relevant links to your website, not just any old link.
Yes.
For example, if you're a wedding photographer in Seattle, a link from a golf course in Florida is not going to be very relevant.
True.
Now, if you were a photographer in Florida, it would have some relevancy. It would have a Florida relevancy.
And if you were a golf photographer in Florida, then that's where the money is.
That is. It's a very competitive industry, golf photography.
Photographing golf.
Big golf fans here.
Oh, yeah.
I like golf.
You're great at golf.
You've never seen me golf. How would you know?
Because you told me, and everyone's told me, and you had golf clubs.
I had golf clubs. It means I was great at golf.
Yeah. Or you golfed.
I golfed. Yeah. I don't golf much anymore.
You used to golf with Tony.
Okay. So when we're building local links, we want them to be relevant, but we don't care about anything other than the local aspect. So for example, when you're building links, you are a children's photographer in Brooklyn. Yeah. You could get relevant links by focusing on the children aspect of that, or the photography aspect of that, or the Brooklyn aspect of that, or all three. Now, in this case, for our local, remember, our goal here is local rankings. So we're just worried about the local aspect. We want local links because we want to send a signal to Google about our location.
Hello.
We kind of want to demonstrate to Google, hey, we are all about this neighborhood and this community.
We are so invested in part of the community.
Right. So there are a few different types of links you can build with that in mind.
Yes.
I wish I knew what they were.
And thank you so much. Next week, we will be leading up to another important thing that we'll never cover.
Number one is local organizations.
Okay.
Now, I tend to think that no matter where you live, if you're in this country, I don't know what other countries are like, but no matter what city or town or neighborhood you live in, there's going to be things like a chamber of commerce.
Yes.
Okay, that's a local business organization. You can probably go to them and sign up and get a link from the local chamber of commerce. Now,
how does that work? Could you just refresh memories for those who may not be so great at focusing on things and just review what it means to get a link?
So let's take the Chamber of Commerce example. If you were to sign up and put your business on the Chamber of Commerce, you would probably have a page that's all about Meredith Zinner photography. And somewhere on there would be a link to your website.
Okay.
Click this text or this button and go to Meredith Zinner's website. That's a link.
Okay.
So the problem with things like, I should say the potential problem with chambers of commerce is they usually cost money.
Oh.
Depending on where you live, they might be expensive. Like we live in Brooklyn. I can tell you, if you want to join the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, it starts the most basic level at $500 a year and goes up to like several thousand per year.
My God.
So it's not a great solution for us. Now, if you live in a smaller city, they may be free or close to free, in which case it's something to consider.
Out.
But it's an example of a local organization that probably you have. If you're listening to this and you're in this country, again, other countries, I'm not sure what they have, but I would think they'd have some sort of equivalent. Okay, number two, local publications. Most neighborhoods have some sort of local publication. Like we have the Park Slope Reader.
Yeah.
And there are more for Brooklyn. And those publications usually have an online version. And you can do the same thing. You can probably go and say, hey, I want to submit a listing here, or I want to do something. There will be different ways you could be listed on that website. You'll need to find those websites and check them out. You might need to sponsor something.
What do you mean sponsor something?
You may need to sponsor.
Like an advert?
Yeah. You may need to sponsor something, like buy an ad. Exactly. Right. Like buy an ad. And again, that could cost a little or it could cost a lot. I would encourage you in doing this, certainly aim for the cheaper or free options first.
Yeah. This is not the place you need to invest. If you're going to invest your money, this may not be the best place.
It's usually not.
Good to know.
However, there are some links that are very valuable. You'd have to dig a little deeper and know how to research and analyze websites in terms of the value that they might bring.
Are you going to help us with that?
That will be probably an episode on its own.
Okay.
Maybe the week after next.
Ooh.
But yes, certainly very often I get questions like this a lot from clients. And they say, hey, should we buy a link here? It's X number of dollars. And rarely do I do the research and respond, yes, it's worth it. Go ahead and do it.
Rarely do you do the research?
No. I mean, rarely I do the research, but rarely do I respond, yeah, that's worth it. Buy that link. They're usually overpriced if your goal is just the link for SEO purposes.
Okay.
Now, if, let's say for us, another local publication would be Park Slope Parents.
Yeah.
For them, there'd be a big benefit. If you were considering purchasing a link on that site, there'd be a benefit in addition to the SEO and to the link.
Right.
Because you get a lot of visibility and it's very targeted to your target audience.
Yes.
So there can be, it's not, if there's another reason that you wanted that a link would be valuable, then you have to consider that too. It's not always just the SEO.
That's so true.
Okay. Now, this is the big one. Community engagement. And you can break this down into a few different categories.
Okay.
There are usually, no matter where you live, there's going to be local events of some sort. You can probably find places to do sponsorships.
Oh, yeah.
You can sponsor local businesses or events or whatever. You can do scholarships or internships. This is something my clients do a lot of.
What does that mean? How do you do that?
So you could say, you can post, like, let's say you're looking for an intern.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, I have a position for an internship. And then you go post that internship on maybe Park Slope Reader has a section where you can say, I have an internship here. And they link to your website. Now, if you do that, you kind of want to make sure that you keep that listing active. So what you might have to do is post a new listing every 6 months or so. Or same for scholarships. I have clients that do scholarships.
How would I do it? How would photographers do scholarships?
I don't think you would probably do that. You would need a budget. You're going to need to give away some sort of prize.
That's good to know for all the photographers.
Yeah. But if you can do something, maybe you can run a scholarship and give away some of your old equipment. I don't know. Right. If you can figure that out, because what happens is scholarship links often get placed on educational websites. Which are great links to get. So that's why I have clients. I have clients that give away $500 scholarships every 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Just for a link. Or I should say, just so they can put a link on several different university websites.
Huh.
Same thing with internships. But if you're looking for an intern, or if you need maybe you have a new intern every year or something, post it on local publications. You can probably do that for less than you can just, buy a link.
Right.
Because, hey, I have an internship. Where can I post that?
Where would you buy links?
Well, like local publications, you might want to get a link and they say, well, it costs $100 a year to have a profile. That would be essentially buying a link, paying for a link. Charities and volunteering.
Yes.
So this is something you've done. You've volunteered your services to local organizations and you take photos in exchange for a link.
Yes.
Now, the downside is, remember? We did that. Now, the most recent one you did, unfortunately, they said, we'll give you a link. And then they didn't. And then the person who you were in communication with disappeared, which is not unusual.
Moved. Yeah. Didn't disappear, moved to go to Washington to fight even larger causes.
Right. But now, that's sometimes, this is why it's offsite SEO. We don't have direct control. We're relying on other people. And sometimes it doesn't work out well.
Yes.
That's why when you do things like this, when you make an arrangement to take photos for somebody in exchange for a link, it's really good to get their approval beforehand that, yes, they will give you a link.
Yeah. And then double check on that.
Because especially if you're volunteering for an organization, they may be a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And in my experience, nonprofits, the personnel shifts around a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We got a link for that, the summer camp that I volunteer for, right?
Yeah. But you could also go to local businesses. You could do the same thing. You can go to, a local toy store and you say, I can take some photos of your stuff and I can feature you on my blog. It's for children's photography. Can you link to me from your blog? You can do things like that. Explore your community.
Walk around.
If you can become more present in your community, I guarantee you that's going to help your local rankings.
Interesting.
Even if you don't get links, like if a website mentions Meredith's Dinner Photography and yet doesn't link to you, Google still sees that they're mentioning you.
Hey.
Yeah. There's some benefit. There's not much. That's, not a lot of benefit. Or if maybe they will link to your Instagram or something, or maybe they will share your website or your Instagram on their Instagram.
Right.
All those things help. They're not as influential as a link from their website to your website for SEO, but Google still does see those things. They're social signals. Yeah.
Good.
What questions did you have? You mentioned that you had questions. Did I cover them?
Yes.
Oh, super.
Yes, you did.
You know what that means?
We're done.
Podcast is over.
Hey, now we just need to know if you have questions. And if you do, where do they go?
You can ask questions on Instagram.
Okay, thank you. We love you. See you next week.
Bye. Podcast is over. The podcast is over.
The podcast is over. No more podcast for you right now. No more podcast. Podcast go bye-bye.
Wouldn't it be great if I left this all in?
Yeah.
So it's after I said the podcast is over, there's 10 minutes of us
10 minutes. of us wasting people's time. Yeah, that would be great. Definitely. Yeah, keep visiting. Awesome. Time, everyone has so much of it. Hey, thank you so much for listening. We really hope that you find this helpful and useful. And if you do, what you could do for us as a thanks would be to, drumroll please, yes, leave a review. Yes, everybody says it, I know, but it really does make a difference. Take 3 seconds, leave as many stars, say something really nice about what you like about the podcast and maybe why other people would like it. It would mean the world to us, especially my husband. That better? All right, I'm going to try one where I'm not going to be charming.